doing, Layla and Dodger? Are you coming in for a treat? Good morning, everyone. We're just gonna head in here now. I'm gonna get them a treat and we'll come out again later because it's starting to rain. We are back again here now. It's a lot later in the day. The rain has stopped. It absolutely poured. Oh my goodness. Kenai's following her around and sniffing, but I'm gonna keep a close eye because he's not allowed to mount her today. Any day after they tie, I don't allow them to really initiate. So he isn't allowed to mount her. He isn't allowed to try and tie with her again. He can sniff her, but that's about it. She needs a break and he needs a break, but any day that they tie, the next day we don't allow them to do it again. As mentioned yesterday, we allow them to tie up to 3 times. After that, they have to stop. Even if she's still in estrus, we don't let them tie anymore, simply because that is enough on both her and him. They need a break. The more you tie them doesn't mean your dog will end up with more puppies once the male penetrates the female. And if it ends up resulting in pregnancy, whatever that litter count is, that's what it is. Once the female's pregnant, she's pregnant. Whatever that litter count is, that's what it is. Again, the more they tie, the more they mate and mount, doesn't mean that they will have more and more puppies. So in yesterday's video, you would have seen Nala and Kenai tie, and the thing that causes them to tie, it's the part of the male dog's private called the bulbus glandis. It swells and prevents him from pulling his private out of the female private area. The bulbus, or bulb is sometimes referred to as, when swelled in the female dog's private during the 3rd phase of mating, forms a knot, which both the swelling and knot cause them to stay locked together. The crazy thing is, approximately 40% of female dogs will become pregnant after just 1 mating session. As you've seen in yesterday's video, he did indeed penetrate, and they did mate and tie. The swimmers went upstream. I guess you could say. I'm trying to keep this as light as I can for all ages and appropriate for all ages when showing these videos. They are for educational purposes, but I also want to watch certain words I'm using when explaining things, because some people find certain words almost too in-depth. Now, even if a male doesn't tie with a female, as I mentioned yesterday, she can still fall pregnant because something that occurs, slip, I guess, insertion is what you can kind of call it, can occur where the male starts to try to insert in the female and it slips out because she moves or whatever the case may be, and she can still fall pregnant that way. So if he mounts and does that, a female can fall pregnant if it is a slip type insertion. She can have the swimmer still go up the stream and she can still fall pregnant. So that's why some people say with just mounting, can she become pregnant? And yes, because sometimes with mounting, the male can start the tie process. The female just so happens to move a certain way where he ends up not fully completing the tie process, or whatever the case may be that will result in that, but she can still fall pregnant. That's why some people, like I said in other videos, when mounting, it can still cause pregnancy because a slip can occur, and a tie can also result in pregnancy. Does it always mean that, oh, she tied, my female's definitely pregnant? No. Just because they tie doesn't mean that they always fall pregnant either. The chances are a lot higher, but again, not every female that ties, or not every female that a male mounts, becomes pregnant. And if you are trying to get your female pregnant, this is something certainly to keep an eye on, especially very closely if you're trying to breed her, because if they tie 3 times, like 3 times should be your cap, and after that and you go to the vet and you realize after doing ultrasound that no puppies, I'd certainly look more into both that female and male that you're breeding and make sure everything is okay and nothing underlying is occurring. Now, if you are planning on breeding a female or male, certainly get everything checked over with both. Make sure everything's okay. Have a vet ready to roll. If it's an accidental pregnancy, make sure you have a vet ready ASAP. The moment you know and the moment you find out that your female is pregnant, make sure you have a vet right away to ensure the safety of the mother and puppies are taken care of. And like I mentioned in yesterday's video, it's not going to be cheap. It's an expense. Puppies are adorable and cute, and you're probably excited because puppies are on the way, your first time breeding. You're excited puppies are on the way. It's an accidental pregnancy. You decide to keep the puppies. Just be aware, it is a very expensive undertake, especially too if it's only 1 female that is fallen pregnant. You will not receive a profit from it. Another thing you should really be aware of, The age of 6 should be your cap for breeding a female. You shouldn't breed a female after the age of 6. Now, some people will say that for medium-sized dogs, you could probably push an extra year or two, but I strongly suggest, in all honesty, across the board, no matter the size, is 6. Now, unless something occurs or happens, or you find out something medical with your female, or if you have bred before and she's approaching that age and something happened in one of the puppies in a previous litter or with her, I certainly would not continue breeding, discontinue breeding if anything should ever happen to a puppy or to the mother. And the reason I suggest age of 6, and a lot of people actually suggest the age of 6 once they reach that age, after that not to breed them, is simply because miscarriages, injury to the female, complications during pregnancy or delivery, death even during pregnancy can occur to the mother or puppies. Medical complications can arise for the puppies. There's a long list of things that just medically can go wrong. So this is why I strongly suggest, and you'll also hear a lot of people strongly suggest who have done breeding or even vets, after 6 you shouldn't continue breeding that dog. Or if you never did breed them before and they are 6 and they're about to turn 7, definitely don't breed that dog. And if your dog ends up accidentally falling pregnant and they're over the age of 6, get a vet ASAP. Make them aware, monitor, and write down everything, because that female is at a high risk, that litter is at a high risk. So certainly something you really want to keep a close eye on, and why it's so important if your dog is in heat and you don't plan on spaying or neutering, keep very close tabs on, especially older dogs. Keep a very close tab on so they don't fall pregnant. Now, unless a dog is in heat, they will not become pregnant. It will be very highly unlikely for a male to penetrate a female when she is not in heat. And that's simply because they rely on chemical signals from both the male and the female. The female going into heat provides such a signal. Without the signal, the male will not mount her. He won't initiate swimmers going upstream. Hey, Kenai, say no. No, sir. Now that Nala's in day 3 of estrus, if you watched the other videos in this series, you would have seen that she had pro-estrus, which was 10 days, which is before they start to initiate mounting or any of that occurs. So she was in that for 10 days. And the way you know that she is starting her heat cycle and pro-estrus occurred, I mentioned in those videos, but I'll run through it right quick again. You will see the vulva increase in size. You will see your dog sitting a lot more, licking a lot more, bleeding, which is a huge indicator heat has started. Some dogs' appetite increases, Nala's did not. Some dogs you will notice that their temperament changes. They might become a little bit more aggressive, clingy, distant, things of that nature. Nala doesn't. She did for like a day or two. She became really sooky, but in terms of her becoming aggressive or anything, no, that didn't happen with her. Some dogs' urination increases. With Nala, urinating did not increase. She stayed the same this go around. I think last time it increased, but no, this time it did not. Sleeping gradually changed with her. At the beginning of her heat cycle, her sleeping patterns didn't change, but as her heat's going on, her sleep had increased a nice bit. And if you have a male present, you'll also notice him hovering the female a lot more, being very close. Again, like I said, if you've seen the other videos in the series, you would have seen all of this. I've shown all of it. You will also notice the male sniffing the female a lot more, and like I said, staying very close, marking his scent over her scent. So when she would go to use the bathroom, he would mark his scent over hers. So that is something else. During that time, he would not initiate in terms of mounting or anything like that. Estrus, which occurred, like I said, 3 days ago, because she's on day 3 of estrus. The first day, they were very flirty. And when a dog is flirty, you will see the female exposing and raising her rear in the male's direction while moving her tail out of the way and exposing her vulva. But yeah, you'll see the female exposing and raising her rear in the male's direction while moving in the opposite direction, and she'll move her tail out of the way, exposing her vulva, aka private area. But yes, on day 1 they were very flirty, the two of them were. He was steady sniffing, they were mounting, they didn't tie. That didn't occur in day 1, and last time that didn't occur in day 1 either. So during the first day, I find it's just them being very flirty, him mounting, but no tying occurring. At least not with Nala and Kenai when it comes to them in estrus. But that was day 1. The bleeding was still occurring, but the consistency did change. And then in day 2, that's when tying occurred. They were mounting, very flirty, very much attached at the hip. And again, tying occurred that day. When tying occurs, make sure you write it down, just like as soon as estrus starts and you see them mounting, write it down. I showed it in the last videos from her last heat of how we would actually write it down and monitor and keep track of whenever her and kenai would mount as well as tied. What we would do, have a T in a circle. If they tied that day, leave it as is with a T in a circle. Just X out the T, so that way you knew they mounted but they didn't tie that day. Have the date wrote down, have the time wrote down, all of that, because it's extremely important for your vet as well as yourself, just to monitor when it happened. That way you can keep track of everything for pregnancy purposes. When the litter will potentially be here, it makes it easier for your vet to monitor different things as well. But that's what happened on day 2. And now today, like I said, he's been sniffing her. He earlier this morning tried to initiate something, but I had to tell him to back off because, like I said earlier on, I don't like them mating the day after a tie, just to give them both a break. Both their bodies need a break too. Just like when they tie, they only tie 3 times because both their bodies definitely need a break, and they need a break. The little ones are just outside here playing. Yeah, we'll talk about you guys now. Let's talk about you. Dodger has dug a hole here. He doesn't like the fact that the sand, he likes the sand when it's not wet, but as soon as the sand gets wet and very clumped together, Dodger's not a big fan of it. He'd rather go dig holes elsewhere. So I think we're going to actually fill the sandbox up with some topsoil. We'll leave the sand that's in it as a base, but I think we're going to top up the sandbox with some topsoil for him to dig at. But Dodger has not tried anything. He was curious in regards to sniffing because he probably smelt the difference and the change in his mommy, but he hasn't at all tried to initiate anything, which we're very grateful for. Hey Nala, nope, your son didn't come at you at all, did he? No, he's been a very good boy and well behaved. Hey kenai. And if you missed the other videos, the type of breeding we do, it's only Nala and kenai that are allowed to mate. We only mate one because we're restricted breeders. It's only 1 male and 1 female for breeding purposes. And because of this, we're doing it for the love and the passion of breeding. You certainly, and this is something some of you might not be aware, but if it's just 1 female, you're not going to make any type of profit from it, especially after all the expenses come out for vets, puppy care, care of the mother. Even the father is going to require more care. So if you are breeding and it's only 1 female, just be aware it's for the love and the passion. You're not going to make anything off of it if that's the reason you're doing it. I'd certainly suggest doing some more research and looking at a different type of breeding, because restricted breeding is very specific to only 1 male and 1 female. This type of breeding though helps to not contribute to overpopulation. It also makes it easier to monitor each individual puppy. You're able to focus more on growth and development of each puppy and spending time, quality time. Also too, if there ever, thankfully this hasn't occurred at any point yet, if there's ever a puppy that ends up needing to be returned, they can come back with ease. We're not in a situation where we have countless amount of dogs here where it becomes not manageable. Yes, we do have our own countless amount of dogs, but in regards to a lot of puppies in house, we don't have that here because we're a restricted breeder. So it's a lot easier to take a puppy back, start rehabilitation with it, get it to vet up to date and everything else, and get it vet checked, and then possibly rehome it again depending on the anxiety and everything else of that puppy. Or the other option would be they would stay with us. But happily, all puppies that have been adopted out all have found permanent homes. We haven't had a puppy that had to be returned, which is, oh my goodness, it makes us so happy. But we are super happy that they all found their forever homes. He's just digging in the mud. With help and discussion with our vet, Nala will be doing 6 litters, and that's of course pending that each litter everything ends up being fine with every puppy and with her and with kenai. Everything is safe and good, but she will be doing 6. But even after they are done breeding, unlike some breeders, not all, some breeders will opt to sell either the male, female, or both, or one, because some people don't even have the male in-house. They get other males, which we don't do. Restricted breeding, you have both male, female on site, and they both remain with you even when they are done breeding. So even when Nala is done breeding and kenai, both remain until the day they pass the rainbow bridge before we decide if we will breed again or not. If this type of breeding interests you, certainly I would highly recommend it, especially if you're not in it for making a profit and it's something you're just doing for the passion and love. There are other types of breeding that you can do that are also for passion and love that aren't restricted breeding, but if this one specifically interests you, I would highly suggest this one. Like I said, it's a lot of one-on-one time with individual puppies, one-on-one time with the parents. It gives you so much more control over if a potential puppy returns or anything like that, and something shall happen with any of the puppies. But if you are the type that wants to breed for profit, certainly, like I said earlier, check out other types of organizations. Also check out different types of breeding styles, but you will require more than one female to be on site for it to be a for-profit situation, and you want to make it a career or job or anything like that. Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you in the next video. We'll see you tomorrow for another one. Say bye now. All right, did you girls want to head in now? Here, let's go get a treat. Did you want a treat? Here. Come get a treat. Say bye.